Now, we are so taught in this society of ours that if we're going through something difficult, we need to be strong. That's often the advice that someone's given when they're going through something really difficult, when they're going through trauma, when they're going through whatever. Be strong, be strong. Now, that being strong, although it can be useful advice at times, certainly, often is the opposite of what we need in order to relax and heal. Sometimes what we need is actually to be weak. And when I say to be weak, I don't mean collapsing into believing all of these thoughts in our minds. I don't mean collapsing into unconsciousness and crying and being like, oh, my life's all... No, that's not what I mean. What I mean by weakness is we become delicately soft inside. Instead of hardening up around our experience and fighting and trying to be strong around our emotional worlds, we soften within it. We become weak within it. Another way of saying that is we locate something inside, or we sense inside into this delicate quality of being. We feel into what is delicate within our consciousness, what is light within our consciousness, what is weak within our consciousness. One of my teachers says, your greatest strength is within your weakest weakness. And he also says that strength is only ever the ego. It's only ever the ego which tries to be strong. It's only ever the ego which needs to be strong. For the strong alpha male or alpha female type, when they go through something difficult, say a child of theirs dies or some trauma happens, then their way of dealing with it is by becoming even stronger than what they were. And that is commendable. That is, you can't help but have admiration for the human resilience and the human strength in that way. But that isn't necessarily healthy from a spiritual and psychological perspective. Now, that is what the alpha male or the alpha female might do in that situation. But what would the sage do if they went through something tragic? What would the sage do if they went through something really, really heartbreaking? The sage wouldn't approach that from a place of strength in that hard fighting kind of way. The sage would approach that from a place of weakness. They would allow themselves to completely crumble, to become completely soft around the situation. They would allow themselves to become immensely sensitive to what is happening. If their heart needs to break, they allow their heart to break. They bow their head down and soften around whatever is happening. Now, we all have this opportunity in every single moment. Sometimes we don't recognize, we don't acknowledge the difficulty of life on planet Earth. Of course, if you come to videos like this, you know that you're struggling. You're seeking out videos like this because you're struggling. But it's good to truly acknowledge the difficulty of being in this human body, in this crazy world in 2025, when everyone's on TikTok, when there's world wars kicking off, when people are getting assassinated, when all sorts of mad shit's happening. It's hard on the nervous system. So the world makes the nervous system naturally become hard. And one way of coping with that is to become even harder, to hit the gym, to work hard, to push our emotions down. But a much healthier way is to be like the sage. When you notice the nervous system hardening up to this world, when you notice the reactions coming up within your body, to soften into it. To sense into what within my consciousness, what within my experience right now is delicately okay. And you be within that delicateness. Now that delicateness isn't some sort of pansy, wet lettuce way of being. It is the greatest strength. And the reason it is the greatest strength is because it cannot be harmed. Now let me give a sort of illustration to this. Imagine something so weak which cannot be harmed, and I've got kind of an image coming to my mind of, you know, dandelions where you blow them and all of the seeds fly off, and they're like the lightest thing, they just float around within the air. Now imagine a massive pile of those dandelion seeds that are floating around. Imagine if they were put into a massive pile and you had a spear and you were to run at full pelt and throw this spear into the middle of them. It would just go whoosh, straight through. It wouldn't harm or touch them in any way at all. Now it's the same for our being. Our being is immensely delicate. And yet it is immensely strong. Because it is so delicate it cannot be harmed. So find that delicateness within yourself. Instead of hardening when emotional reactions happen, soften when emotional reactions happen. When you wake up in the morning and there's this feeling of like, oh, another day. Do you know that? Waking up in the morning and being like, oh, fuck, the day. You could get up and do a load of push-ups. Nothing wrong with that. Or you could wake up and you could just soften into this delicateness. Wake up and touch in with your being. Touch in with your being. Touch in with your being. Because that beingness is your true safety. That beingness is your true strength. And it's through all of these emotional reactions that come up. It's through every difficulty within life that we get more and more and more and more and more in touch with the safety and the goodness of our own being. Now, my life has not been easy at all. Since I was, well, a teenager, really. It's been pretty hard. Yet, very gradually, over the years, there's been a deepening and a deepening and a deepening into the knowing of this delicate quality of being. And as I sit here talking to you, it is quite lovely. So don't look for a big experience. Don't look for a big, expansive spiritual experience. It's not really needed. All you need is to enjoy resting within something within you which is a little bit softer than the reactivity. Even if it's just a tiny bit softer than the reactivity, that is your doorway into being. If you can become just a little bit softer, a little bit more delicate than what is reactive within you, that is your doorway into being. And that is your doorway into freedom. And that is your doorway into your true heart. And what every spiritual seeker is truly looking for. to come home to themselves, to come back to themselves. So do it. Come back to yourself. Much love.